welcome to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Joining me, as always, is our volunteer coordinator, who's filling in as an expert animal wrangler. Since we've moved to a different time and things like that, it's a little bit harder for the volunteers to help us out with this type of activity. Our first dog today is Jillian, and she is quite a small dog. She's actually a great size. She's just about 40 pounds. A lot of people, including myself, thought that she was an older puppy when she first came in. And to everybody's surprise, once they got examined, we learned that she's actually about 1 to 2 years old. So she's going to be a good, small kind of pocket pit. And she is a very affectionate dog. She is a dog that is very treat motivated, working on their manners here. A lot of the dogs on the floor need a little help with that. You know, just the overall stress kind of brings out that lack of remembering their training, if you will. But also a lot of our dogs just never really got that kind of good manners training. And so their new families are going to really be responsible for making sure that they're getting all of that stuff under their belt. She's a good size, and she should be a great addition to any family, and we really don't have any age restrictions on who could own this dog, you know, as far as children, things like that.
So Jillian has some wounds on her face. What are they from?
So she has some things on her nose, some things around her face. So those could be for a couple of different things. So first, Jillian did come in with what we're assuming is a sibling named Sally. And they like to get into some scuffles. They were housed together, and so they were kind of fighting. And, you know, it's not a huge deal. You have to think about it, you know, like if you were stuck in a car for, you know, all day, every day with someone in your family, you might get into some arguments. So that's kind of a part of that, is just, you know, them being together all the time, not having any space away from each other. And these guys have not been spayed yet, so they're actually they're in heat right now, so that could also be a factor in those kind of scuffles. But the other reason could be just because both Jillian and Sally are fence climbers. They live in a very specific set of kennels here in the shelter that have covers on the top, which makes it hard for them to escape. So they have both climbed out of both the indoor and outdoor kennels. So they are no longer allowed to be in kennels where they can climb out that aren't covered. And so that's something that owners are going to want to take into consideration as well. You know, these guys are not candidates for just leaving them out in the backyard by themselves. They should be supervised at all times, especially if you have a shorter fence. Chain link would not be recommended for these guys because they can climb right over that. So, you know, 6 foot privacy fences would be good. You know, again, always supervised outside because, you know, they are very smart and they can figure stuff out. But also, you know, alternatives like keeping them outside on a long lead even, so that you have they can feel like they have the freedom to run around, but they are still on a leash. So it makes it easier to make sure that they're not going to get lost or get into some sort of trouble or, you know, get hit by a car or anything like that because they've ran out of the yard. So they have a lot of potential, both of them, but you want to be, you know, very mindful that they will be able to probably get out of your backyard. So just taking all of those management precautions. If you're interested in meeting Jillian, you can do so by going to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment. We do have availability Monday through Saturday and evenings on Wednesdays. Our next guest is Sally, and Sally is the dog that came in with Jillian. We're kind of assuming that they're siblings. They're about the same age. They have a similar look. And, you know, we don't know any different. So we're just kind of going under the assumption that they're sisters. So again, she's about 1 to 2 years old. The difference is obviously their coloring. So Jillian was blue, fawn, and white, and then we have Sally here who is blue and white. A lot of people would say she's gray, but with pit bulls, the gray coloring is always referred to as blue. In my interactions with them, Sally has been a little bit more energetic, a little bit more interested in jumping up on people, but all the kennel staff say that both of them are going a long way working on their manners. I know that this dog in particular loves a good belly rub. Every time I see the kennel staff taking her out, she flops over and just wants them to sit there and rub her belly for as long as humanly possible. They do, again, have some things to work on, like house training, you know, and that's true of any dog that you're getting from the shelter. Even if it says, you know, from a previous owner that they're house trained, they're going to be in a new environment with a new routine in your household, and it can be a little stressful, so you're going to have to work on that with them, teaching them those things, and that's definitely something you should be aware of with these guys, just as well as the basic good manners training, not jumping up on people, you know, taking treats nicely, those types of things.
So you had mentioned that Jillian and Sally were getting in little tussles together. Does that mean that they wouldn't get along with other dogs?
Not necessarily. So they are allowed to have play dates together outside. It's more of a confinement issue. And then, as I mentioned earlier as well, you know, they're both in heat, so that can kind of create a situation where maybe there's a little bit of some territorial issues and things like that. That's just a natural kind of behavior and instinct. In terms of our, you know, observations of their interactions with other dogs, they've both reacted very favorably to other dogs. You know, Jillian has more of just, you know, the, you know, relaxed, happy tail wagging, and then Sally's, you know, play bowing and trying to really engage the other dogs in play. But anytime you have, you know, you're interested in adopting a dog from our facility, as you're well aware, and you have an existing dog, it is a requirement as part of your application process that you bring your dog in and have them meet our dog. It's not always a 100% indicator. We've had, you know, dogs do really well here and then not so well in the home. But it does give us an idea if it's something that's going to be workable or not with training and proper introductions. And it is really important to do the proper introductions. You don't just want to walk your dog in, your new dog into the house and assume that everything's going to be fine. You want to, you know, supervise them, and there is a protocol that we will go over with all of our adopters in our adoption interview to make sure that you know how to properly introduce the two dogs. It doesn't say anywhere, you know, that they could be adopted together, but it also doesn't say that they couldn't. So if you're, you know, that's something that you're interested in, you can always talk to our staff about that, because they do seem to get along as long as they're not confined in close quarters. If you're interested in Sally, you can, and want all of the cuddles and you want her to wash your face for you daily, you can meet her by going again to visit fcac.as.me to book that visitation appointment. In the last couple of weeks, we've been mostly featuring dogs, given the large number of dogs we have available for adoption, but those numbers are kind of getting back into a more average area, and so now we're going to start showcasing some of our cats again. And the first one that we have is Roscoe, and Roscoe is a resident of our kitty cabana, which is our open cat room, which means he lives in a room like you would in a house. Visitors can come and go. He's free to, you know, play with the other cats, hang out, look in the window, that type of a thing. One of the requirements, obviously, of being in that room is that you kind of get along with other cats, so we can put multiple cats in there. So if you have an existing cat in your household, Roscoe would be a good fit. He is almost a year old. We're listing him as somewhere between 10 and 12 months, and he's a domestic medium hair, so he has a great longer coat, but that does come with some extra maintenance, you know, making sure he's staying nice and brushed and he's not getting matted, because those can cause a little bit of pain for the animals. And I talked to his foster mom this morning, because he was a product of our foster care program, and she describes Roscoe as a bit of a busybody. If you have an active household where there's lots of stuff going on, she thinks that he would be quite a good fit for that, because he always wants to be helpful and be around and get into stuff. He has done well living with other cats, although his energy level is sometimes a bit much for some older cats in the house. And he did well with a dog as well. So he should be a great fit for, you know, any household. And he definitely is winning over hearts in the kitty cabana. Volunteers like him. Sean, I believe that he's also one of your favorite residents right now. So he's, you know, he's just waiting for that perfect family to come along and want to take him home.
So Roscoe's what we call a wounds of an unknown origin cat. What does that mean?
So when an animal comes in with, you know, bites and scratches, and we don't know what the history is, like where did those things come from, it's always assumed that, you know, it could have been from a rabid animal. And rabies is an incredibly serious illness, and so the state takes those things very seriously. So when we don't have a vaccine history, a rabies vaccine history, they have to go into quarantine for 4 months. It's a double isolation quarantine, which means, like, for example, in the room where we shoot our show, they could be in one of the offices, and then this would be another door, so that there's always something to catch them if they get out, and they can only have one handler. We are fortunate that we've been able to take on a lot of these wounds of unknown origin cats and get them into foster homes. We have 2 or 3 fosters that do that pretty consistently, and Roscoe was part of that program. So he went into a foster home. He lived in that double isolation area with one handler, and then once his quarantine was finished, he was able to then be integrated into the rest of the house for a while to see how he does with other animals and things of that nature. It is something that can be hard for a lot of people, but we are glad that we definitely have a couple of committed fosters, because it's really saving lives, and it's creating great pets for members of our community. If you want some more information on Roscoe or the adoption process, you can always give us a call, and you can do that by calling 301-600-1546. Our next cat is Seymour, and he is also a Cabana resident. He lives in there with Roscoe. They actually came from the same foster home, so they have been used to spending time living together. So if you were looking for 2 cats that are going to get along, these 2 would be an option, because they've been living together for quite some time now. Seymour is obviously a white and black. He's got great markings. He's just got, a really sweet, laid-back personality too. His foster mom indicated to me that he's more of a couch potato kind of a cat. Would do well in a nice, quiet household. Just wants to hang out and soak up attention, but is also okay, hanging out on his own. He does seem like he takes a little bit more time to warm up to people than Roscoe, who's just like running right at you. So, you have to kind of sit in the cabana for a while for Seymour to come out, and then he engages with you. I picked him up pretty easily the other day. He doesn't seem to have an issue with that. And he too got along with all the other cats in the household, as well as the dog, which is important to some people. A lot of people want to add a cat to a home where there's an existing dog, and he did well with all of those things. It's just going to be about always proper introductions. We want to make sure that the animals are feeling safe and comfortable, and they're not threatened or anything like that during that transitional period.
So Seymour has the look of an older cat, but he's younger. Is that true?
Yeah, everybody that I've talked to always thinks that Seymour's like an older guy, like in the 7-8-year-old range, but he's actually only a year to a year and a half old. But he does seem to have an old soul. He definitely has that look about it, and I think his old man name kind of helps solidify that kind of interpretation. But he is still a really young cat, and a lot of people are wanting those younger cats. They want their cat to live a long time and to be part of their family for an extended period. The great thing about a cat that's this age is that they are going to be with your family for a long time, but they're also past that kind of obnoxious kitten phase, where they're into everything, kind of like Roscoe. A lot of cat proofing for him. He wants to jump up and get in things and climb on your back and do all of those things, whereas Seymour's not really going to do that, but you're still going to have that nice long time where he's a part of your family. If you are interested in meeting Seymour here, again, you can do that by booking that appointment. That's visit fcac.as.me. Those appointments are for about 50 minutes. You can come back more than once if you want to meet the animals. There's also downloadable applications available at that booking site, so that you can have that all filled out and prepared for when you come to visit, to kind of expedite that adoption process. And the adoption fee for our cats is $97.50. Our next cat is Flash, and I always assume that Flash is a boy's name, but Flash is actually a girl, and she's been with us since the end of August, so she's been with us for a couple of months now, and with all of the kittens that have been coming in, the adult cats have kind of been getting overlooked a little bit. So Flash is about 4.5 years old. She is a cream tabby and white, and she came in with a history of living with cats and dogs. So again, if you have a multi-pet household and that's something that you want to make sure that the cat is going to be compatible both with other cats and dogs, she lived with both a small dog, I believe it said, a Chihuahua, and a large dog, a German Shepherd. So all areas of the spectrum there are kind of covered. So she should do well again with proper introductions. And she did come in with another cat. I can't remember specifically which cat. So she did live with another cat as well.
So Flash was previously owned. Why did her owner surrender her?
So she was surrendered for allergies, which is something that we see quite frequently. It says that they owned her for 4 years, however, and now there's extreme allergies. So, you know, those could be new people coming into the household, children who have developed allergies. You know, initially it wasn't, you know, as severe, and now as the kids are getting older, it's becoming more prominent. So those are things that we see fairly commonly. But, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, people who are adopting cats, especially if you've never had a cat before, you're not around them, spend some time. Come to the shelter, visit a couple times, see if you're having a reaction, sit in the kitty cabana, let a cat sit on your lap, try to, you know, really be around stuff that cats have touched and sat on. If you have friends and family with cats, really spend some time in their home to see if you're going to develop those types of allergies before you're taking on a pet, so you're not in the position where now you've realized that there's a problem and a medical issue and you need to bring the cat back to the shelter or rehome it on your own.
So Flash is pretty relaxed in her cage, but we have age recommendations on her. Why is that?
Flash is pretty relaxed in her cage. I took a picture of her the other day. She loves her bed, and she just lays in it all funny. But she can be a little bit sassy. She has a little sassy streak to her. And you know, she has a tolerance level and a threshold like most animals do. And when she gets to that breaking point, she will swat at you. It doesn't say she scratches, but our staff have observed that she will give you a good little swat. And that's why it's really important for cat owners to learn cat body language so that they can see how their animals are feeling, so that they can walk away from that situation and kind of leave them alone when they're getting to that breaking point. But if you're cat savvy, she's going to be a great addition to your household. She's very affectionate. She likes to play. She seems to really enjoy, one of our staff keeps bringing in feathers for the cats to play with. It's one of their favorite things, and she really seems to like that. So she has a good overall mix of all those personality traits that people are looking for, but just have to be mindful that when she's done, which is why we're recommending her for a household with, I believe, kids 8 and up, just so that they're a little bit more conscious of those things and can understand and follow those directions. If you think that you have the requirements under your belt that will make Flash a good addition to your household, you can call again for more information, and that number is going to be 301-600-1546. Our last guest today is Sarsaparilla, and she's one of my favorites on the floor right now. She's just a nice, calm, relaxed, older cat. You know, if you're looking for a buddy to hang out with, sit on the couch, you know, relax after a long day, Sarsaparilla would be a great option. She came to us as a stray, so we don't really have a lot of history about, you know, how she does with other animals. She doesn't seem to mind the other cats around her, so she would probably do okay with proper introductions in a multi-cat household. She hasn't really been dog tested or things like that. She is a cat that is, again, older at 7, which is still, you know, middle-aged, but you want to be prepared for, you know, medical things that might creep up. In her case, just, you know, the possibility of needing a dental. She has a grade 2 out of 4 in terms of her dental score, so she may need to have her teeth cleaned or some things pulled at this point. Just want to keep that in check and have your vet definitely check that out. We do tell everyone who adopts from us that we want the animal to be seen by a vet in 30 days or less from their date of adoption. So that's going to give you a good idea of where any pet that you would adopt stands in terms of what things they may need in the future.
Sarsaparilla has a special diet sign on her cage. How is her diet different than the other cats in the room?
So some of those signs are because we have picky eaters, right? You know, they don't like the Purina One chicken. They want, you know, salmon or, you know, the fancy food or whatever. In Sarsaparilla's case, she is on a diet. As you know, our viewers can see, she's a little bit on the larger side. So we're trying to get her down to her, you know, ideal weight. Our vet has said that that is going to be a number that's around 11 pounds. She was weighed yesterday, and she weighs 14.8 right now. So her diet is more mostly wet food, a little bit less dry food, because we're trying to reduce her calorie intake. So her adopters would have to keep that in mind to help her, you know, continue her weight loss plan. Find ways to incorporate maybe some more exercise into her day, some wand toys. She also is a fan of the feathers, although she mostly just likes to chew and lick them, not necessarily chase them around. But those are going to be some options, and you want to make sure that the animal is losing weight appropriately. If they lose weight too fast, that can cause some medical issues as well. So really just following those guidelines. And she has done well on her weight loss program here. She's down about 1/2 pound, which is really good for her. Other things that you want to consider when your cat is a little bit overweight is that sometimes they may need some help with grooming. Can't always reach like the back part of their body. So we've been brushing her to help make sure that she's staying groomed back there. And she actually really enjoys that. So it's also not something that's helpful just in terms of her, overall, care, but something that she enjoys and can be a good bonding experience with a new owner. Because Sarsaparilla is a little bit of an older cat, she is going to get a reduction in her adoption fee. So the normal adoption fee is $97.50, but because she's over the age of 5, she would get a $20 discount, making her adoptable for a fee of $77.50. If you want to meet Sarsaparilla or any of our adoptable animals, as always, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment. Those are 50-minute increments, and we do really encourage everyone to make an appointment when they're going to visit. We thank you for tuning in this week for another episode of Pet Pals. In 2 weeks, we'll have some additional animals that we hope that you're as excited to meet as we are to introduce you to.